Welcome back, my friends. I hear you just witnessed part 2 of Scale Academy. Rather a grim chapter, especially for our dear friend Calvaine. The elf we had only just learned his name, but what of his lore, his very tale? Well, my friend, I can tell you that right here, in this one poem that I have written about it. It's called The Monolithe of Norr. Trapped and shackled I was in the caverns of Norr. This room I spent in distance, no resistance. For so long, for my slavers had long been gods to me. But then, as I sat, a hollow shell in my cell, there came from shade a blade that stroked and sheared and laid to rest my masters, and those who lived ran away in dismay. I followed he who freed me. No Loss was his name, and a Dampier his form. And down the smutted halls did we go, alas, in a hobgoblin prison of Norr with no lass. He and I and a deep-dwelling friend of mine, to whom I'd grown close but distance between in opposite cells, we went now with no loss, who seemed to know the caverns well, and he could smell the way to a most foul stench, though he was not heading to the surface, but low down a route to his quarry, a foe we swore we would help him slay, if only he would lead us the way out. Finally did we the party come to see his quarry, in a vast windy grotto, dead of stench and filled with worry. A vampire emerged from his own shadow and stood in the center of the barren cavern meadow. No Loss dropped his sword and advanced with hands raised high, a gesture to belie the lie behind his eye. He spoke his truth through teeth of reprisal, that he had come back to his father but in disguise. All in all, despite his distance, did he come to recompense with 2 prisoners to be taken by his fang, and to feast upon as they sang of glorious deathly deeds, drunk with me to Carcerai and back. They did embrace like carcasses laced and stitched together, and the seed of deceit the vampire did receive. He believed no loss, he believed, but he was all the same deceived. A blade, black as night, hidden from normal sight, did grow from No Loss's hand behind the vampire's back, and through him did the blade run right, a revenge for his father's gift of blight. He removed his sword and held it tight, and it glowed in some disembodied moonlight. And the vampire fell, stricken like from a deathly spell. No Loss strode like a plague through the land, towards the cavern's end, where huddled like mounds of sand were the vampire wife and child, and No Loss smiled. No less had Calvaine known a family of his own than his deep-dwelling friend beside him, and they darted forth to seize the Dampier's sword, damp with blood but wanting more. They writhed and wrestled and tussled and wondered why they cared to spare the life of mother and child who'd already died, but even death deserves another try. Alas, Calvaine relinquished grasp of the blade, did not delay to penetrate his liberator, delivering a blow that shallowed his breath until finally, at a loss, No Loss fell, no life to tell. In unshackling the 2 who cackled and cried in horror, neither Calvaine nor his deep-dwelling friend could foresee what was in store. By some hex did the quiet blood of No Loss leak and creep and seep, an ooze moving through the back of the room, towards a looming tomb-like monolith of discordant shape, made of root and bone and sediment and ligament, all form of stone. And finally did Calvaine see the bloody entrails of the Dampire dampen and smear about its base, which made it light with bright red and ripe in the dim light. It is here that a gust from No Loss swirled into nether, and his soul did take flight. The vampire wife and child had fled, and Calvaine and his deep-dwelling friend knew they could stay no more. For out of the foreboding cave must they go, and find civilization to tell of this horrible lore. But with the weight that Calvaine bore deep within his very core, he knew that he could never return himself to the caverns of Norr.